Hey, so this is kind of like part two to my, actually let me take my glasses off, 'cause I think they actually make this worse. This is kind of, part two to my, I guess now part one video. I know really you guys were probably expecting part two to be, my situation. I have a way of doing it where I really don't have to do all that much editing, if any. You guys may not like it, but I think it does drive the point across. But I do want to start with now one of the issues we have, although there is still a ton of follow-on criteria, what would have been the big leader of it has just fallen off. I say just fallen off. I just wasn't constantly tracking the situation, but I guess 3 days ago, the person who had the massive PSA 10 deoxys lenticular card to PSA 6, they tweeted, I don't have their handle. I went to go look for it again. I just came across it today, like 6 hours before I'm making this video. No, 8 hours before making this video. I didn't save the handle, but whoever that was who had been doing the lenticular deoxys issues, they came to an agreement with PSA. They didn't disclose the amount, but they came to an agreement. Now, why that's important in regards to this video, what we've been on about, what you guys have really been excited about, losing that big header forward into the situation makes doing a class action lawsuit difficult. Typically, a class action lawsuit is a conglomerate of a ton of wrongings, but they're all somewhere in the category of minor to medium, and then typically you have something that's this major wronging, which would have been that lenticular deoxys. And I was going to get to the point that someone, maybe even myself, needed to reach out to that person. But after seeing that person's already came to a settlement agreement, the issue is now that person cannot pursue any further legal action, as is typical with most, settlement agreements. But we'll go ahead and drive on. So again, these are cards that will probably again go to CGC. But we're going to go ahead and do our grades guessing PSA. And I'll also, while I'm doing this, try and fit in comments about the class action lawsuit or possible class action lawsuit. Definitely, hold on, I gotta look at this. I really do need to get a black background for me and for y'all. So there's whitening at the bottom, and Cowboy is our other cat. Don't eat whatever that is off the ground. There's some whitening on the corner, slight uplift. This would sit between a 7 and 8 for PSA. If it had less whitening, I'd say 7 to 9, but I think 7 to 8 is fair. And so the issue with losing that heavy hitter, the class action just won't have the same amount of weight. That was a shadowless seal, which is another great point. And I haven't even looked up the pricing of shadowless seal graded yet, but someone was commenting on part one of this series, and they were like, I don't understand the point. If you were to get however low of a grade, you spent however much on the grade, and then also the card may even be worth less versus just selling it raw, trying to label it as either MP, LP, or NM, or just pure mint. And I get that. And I somewhat will do the math later on after I have my guesses. I'll kind of take a look at my, what are my odds? How is it looking? And If you were here for my early videos, I sent anything and everything to PSA, but that was to build a database and to also, play guess the grades with viewers to help me have an understanding and to just get things graded. I like graded cards. I like top loaded cards with a penny sleeve, but I like graded cards too. And so, I've gotten from people, even just, one person or several, oh, it's a waste, you're losing money. For me, it's somewhat a game. To me, it's the same thing when you buy a sealed booster pack or booster box full of packs and you open all of them. That's what I'm trying to get at. The grading game to me is extremely similar to opening sealed, and since getting sealed at MSRP is so hard, I prefer to take my chances with what I know with the cards I'm sending in. That being said, now granted I haven't called, I just sent an email today and they didn't reply yet. And granted, that's kind of normal. They're pretty, all the submitters are busy. But I hit up CGC because my package said that it had been there for 4 days and they haven't put it in their system yet. Now, I know like with PSA, that's not uncommon. With CGC, I've heard there's better turnaround times. So I hit them up saying, hey, how long does the package sit till it typically gets into your system? Because I don't like that so much that I get tracking numbers saying my package arrived and CGC doesn't even have it in their system. That can be kind of scary, because these are all pretty valuable cards. Intrinsically and sentimentally. Ooh, that has a good bit of whitening on the side. Oof. Oh my goodness. Okay. And a kind of a dent up at the top and some whitening on the side again. So, geez, here, and I'll try and get a good, this 4x, come on, give me my 4x. There we go, we got that dent right up at top. That's been getting old, man. I've had that on a lot of cards lately. It's so clean on the front. It's so aggravating to come across. I mean, look at that. It's like glass on the front, and then to have your card ruined by the back is just. I'm trying to get it. There we go. Cameras to focus. Do I need to hold it just like this? Will that help iPhone? The whole 3 cameras on your phone thing is a plus and a minus because they all seem to focus separately. Do we want to? Some days the camera quality is pretty good. Some days it's shit. That's a good bit of nicks. If it was just the whitening, I would label it 6 to 7. With that dent, that gets difficult. I think I'll still run with it saying 6 to 7 for PSA standards. That one's a hard one. So now, here's the thing though. I don't think the class action lawsuit is dead in the water, which I think, you guys waiting for me to comment on it some more. And here is why I don't think it's dead in the water. By the way, this to me, growing up, was mind-blowing. Having something stamped in the scene of a card, no rarity symbol. As a kid, because this card came out when I was a kid, like when I was like 6. This card blew my mind. We thought it was a fake card because of how the artwork was. It just, you can't. I saw a video the other day about when I bring up Pokemon around my millennial uncle, and it was like, we only had 3 different sets. And that was true. We only did have 3 different sets for like 40 years. Now you do get a new set like every 2 months, man. And like that's why some of this, especially the vintage stuff, just is so nostalgic and goes for so much. Back onto the class action lawsuit. So losing the possibility of the lenticular deoxys issue does suck. Oh my god. Oof, it's not whitening, but it's like just a weird up crimp. Oh, there we go. There's the whitening. I'll zoom in on that for y'all. Damn. See that, by the way? See how it disappears and becomes apparent? Same thing when you're dealing with eBay listings and Facebook. Any listing that doesn't want to use a black background. They want to use a white background. Nothing there, way more there. So that brings it to the 8 to 7 category. 7 to 8. I don't think it's too terrible of a guess. So that really sucks. This card is really not really worth much unless it's a 10, maybe even a 9. And the centering on this card, just that's like Phantasmo centering. So yeah, but so many people, and then including on top of you guys hitting me up, there has been some other things about PSA still having issues with how they've been handling the sale of cards on the vault. And so, oh, shoot. I guess this sold because it's not in this pile anymore. And we'll move on to Shadowless Lass. So there's still, I think, a possibility for a class action lawsuit. However, we've lost a lot of the weight. This sucks. Just I'm noticing this more and more with cards. There's like a lip that doesn't show up on the back. Here, let me get a good. See on the back, pretty good. On the front, there's that lip. And Last just isn't a card worth, like, I haven't done it yet. I've seen a lot of videos on it on, oh, we can repair your card. We turned an 8 or a 7 into a 10. And I don't think that's untrue. I think that's definitely possible. The issue is that they don't, I haven't seen any that are up front with like what their pricing is to do that. And with how much value that sort of service brings, I just couldn't imagine they're not charging at least a minimum of $100 per card, possibly more. So that's just one of those services that isn't really worth it, unless you're sending cards that are, even borderline as 7s and the hundreds, and then when they're 10s to 9s, they're in the thousands to 10,000s. I'm just trying to give it a little bit of a press. I don't think it'll necessarily 100% fix it. It's still there for sure. Now this is a Shadowless Lass. For those who don't know, come on, zoom in, focus. If brother, this is again why I'm not a big fan of the 3-lens iPhone. What if I do it like this? Nope, doesn't want to. There we go. So when you have a trainer from base set, if it has the 99, it's considered shadowless. So this is a shadowless lass. It, however, isn't first edition, but it is a shadowless lass. Same thing with energy cards for base set. If they have the 99, they are considered shadowless. Well, they're not considered. They are shadowless. Some minor whitening. I'm pretty zoomed in here. I mean, it's really minor. Here, let me put you up to what you would see with your eyes, your human eyes, your unzoomed in eyes. Yeah, that whitening up top is visible. Oh, that whitening's definitely visible. Oof. Again, 7 to 8. It's a shame they didn't make this card hollow. It just has a pretty strong background for, in terms of the colors it had, to be a hollow card. And it was a rare, but as far as I'm aware, they never made Lass a hollow card. Very weird. Up next, now the only reason why I'd probably grade this, and was this on the proper listing? Yes, it is. The only reason why I'd probably grade this is it's a first edition, and because it's base set, that also makes it shadowless, but you don't have to say that, you just say first edition. Centering Muy Guapo for sure. The front looks like there's no issues. Now, oh, I'm already kind of seeing things. We'll just do a 2x zoom. Shoot, I guess we'll do a 4x zoom. I'm seeing some minor whitening. Oh, there's some more right there. Now, the quantity and the size of it all matters. So, there's some quantity, but it's not big white nicks. It looks like it to y'all because of how zoomed I am now. Now there's several white nicks. Now that's no bueno. All along the side. Whatever this white dot is, I can't get rid of it, so it's probably damage instead of debris. Having it on all 4 corners, however slightly minor, again, this puts it in the 7 to 8 category. And again, to the people who ask me, right now, I don't know off the top of my head what that puts this card at. This card is probably one of those cards that's probably not worth anything unless it's a 9 to 10. And some cards, if the disparity is great enough, I won't send them in their grade, and I'll either add them to a mass binder as a pick-me-up card, or I'll sell them individually raw if that works out. But I do still risk it for the biscuit, which I think has raised some questions, and some of it is just building data set on purpose. It's trying to figure out what is the in-between between a 7 to an 8, between an 8 to a 9. What is the in-between? Okay. All right, so we're still in the right order. A Hapney, which I have never seen this Pokemon besides it being on a card. Cosmos pattern. And again, I've stated this in several videos. I like to label Cosmos as a separate note. That is a thick swirl on this card right behind the Hapney. It's also just absolutely mirror. There is not a single scratch in that hollow, which is nice. It's like this is a Pop Series card. It is Pop Series 8. Should have known from the Pokeball. 8. I guess there's some horizontal scratches, but I'm not seeing any vertical. And those are so minor, that still keeps it in a 10. However, looks like we've got some debris on the back, a whitening on the corner. A whitening on that corner. Some debris up top. That came off. This would sit on a solid guess, a PSA 9. And again, I want to reiterate, we are not submitting to PSA. We are running off of our guesses for PSA for a database set to help build our database set for CGC and or tag. But I'll be honest, guys, I'm probably not going to send anything a tag if I don't think it would tag 10. And there are some reasons for that. So up next is a Shadowless First Edition Magmar non-hollow. Now, Magmar, I think, is slept on because I think we forget that Magmar in the show put Charizard for a while in this place when they came across Blaine's Magmar. Magmar's a pretty cool Pokemon in terms of what he is. He's just basically like this duck entity that exists in volcanoes. Like, honestly, it's the basis of when they first run into Magmar. So this card, however, not in great shape. Centering is good top to bottom, however, left to right, way thicker left than right. And we've got a good bit of nicks, top and bottom. So I can definitely already tell y'all are probably like, why grade it? Right now, we're just guessing the grade. I may come back to this sheet. I might type in this information in terms of my guess, lowest to greatest, see if I want to take the risk, and go from there. I've removed cards in the past. So there's some fairly strong nicks, and then there's consistent nicks on the side, and the centering is off. Just on the look of this front, we're hoping for a 7, okay? Alright, and the back is just in terrible shape. We would sit in the PSA 4 category at this point. So that's probably right where it sits, is a 4. It's highly unlikely I would grade this card. I'll look up what this card goes as a 4. I doubt it's really worth anything. And we'll move on finding somebody who just really likes Magmar, first edition cards, or maybe even OC cards. Now you can get PSA cards and I think even CGC cards labeled as OC for off-center. And then all that means is you're disregarding the off-center as a negative factor against your grade, but we're annotating that it is off-center almost to the point. The reason why we're annotating it is like an error in itself for how off-center it is. Now, following up that first edition Magmar, we're just going to go ahead and do the Shadowless version, which is just the downgraded version in a sense because it doesn't have the first edition stamp. Now, hold on. That is a bend in the card technically. So on the back, wow, this card is in rough shape. We're already in the 4 to 5s. Since this card is technically a lower set than the first edition, again, I'm going to go ahead and say 4 to 5. But I think even this card is a 5, and PSA, if we submit it to PSA, which would be a 5, 4, 5, or 6 in CGC, I don't think that makes it worth grading. So I don't remember the user's name. These are cards I probably won't grade. They're cards that I'll set aside and find somebody who's really interested in Vintage, really interested in Magmar, really interested in Shadowless, or really interested in first edition. Now, again, back onto the lawsuit thing. I think we still have a case. It just sucks to lose our main liner, that lenticular deoxys. There's more and more stuff constantly coming out. And a class action lawsuit doesn't require things to be exactly 100% the same case for everybody. It can just be the fact that a company such as PSA is not following through correctly on what they should be doing. And actually, hold on. Let me get through this card real quick and I'll get back to some other points. Centering looks pretty good. It's a little top heavy. It's not end of the world top heavy, but it's a little bit top heavy. Centering makes this hard. I will say 9 to 10. I'm not a good centering judge, that's for sure. But 9 to 10 on this Rayquaza. It's not a super rare Rayquaza. Basically, probably it's one of those cards where you break even on 9 and you probably profit a little in 10. Let me pause here and go ahead and get into the class action lawsuit, what I'm getting at. There's definitely, from where I can tell, plenty of cases. There are people who have, it's an interesting way to zoom out. There are plenty of people who have had some other scenarios that still fit within our case. And basically our case is just the mishandling, neglect, and malfeasance of our cards, our collectibles. And the reason why we need to use terms like that is because there are people who are claiming that their card was sold through PSA Vault, but they never received the money. There's other cases, again, that are similar to mine. The card got swapped out. Or if the card didn't get swapped out, the card got damaged unnecessarily and the compensation was not correctly equivalent. There's the cases to where, PSA 9s definitely should have been 10s, but PSA 9 was trying to buy the cards at the value of a 9. Now, I'm getting some things that are back and forth. People are saying the individual actions of these underpaid, and they are underpaid, the individual actions of these underpaid PSA employees shouldn't reflect PSA as a whole. And I get what you're saying. However, there's so many cases, it's too rampant to ignore. And even as an individual case, I still say the same thing. The ship, the captain of the ship is responsible for the neglect, actions, and consequences of the ship, just as the captain of the ship reaps the rewards of the ship and how successful it is. If I'm losing you in that, essentially the upper suites, the execs of PSA are responsible for any neglect done by the company, regardless of how low the employee it is, because they are reaping the most reward from the existence of their own company, along with the fact that they are the ones who steer the ship, direct the ship, make the rules and the decisions, and have the absolute executive authority for things across the board. Now, there are things that you would expect lower level management, mid-level management to affect and have action on, but even them, I think, are paid so much significantly less than the execs. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't be held liable, but that's on PSA to hold their employees liable. Just like it is PSA's responsibility to pay up and handle these cases correctly for people who have been wronged. And you'll see what I mean, I guess, when I do part 3 of this video, because that's when I will finally show you my email trail and my situation between PSA. once I show you what PSA even said, or, you know, in terms of at least they said and sent forward the picture showing that they received my Black Dot Charizard, it kind of, in my opinion, makes it 100% evident they card swapped. There's a little bit to it that I guess makes me waver a tad bit for my scenario, but we'll get to that when we get to part 3. So far, on the front of this card, well, there's a little whitening up there. We want to zoom in, and it's actually almost even at 4.5 zoom. That still falls at PSA 10 category. It's also very clean swirl, very clean holographic, which is so rare on this card. Let me just go 2x zoom so we can get a good idea. Left to right centering is good. Top to bottom centering is good. The front, besides this one little corner, still would say a 10, even incorporating that top little corner. Back, don't screw me. Little whitening on the bottom. This is a card I would say PSA 9. 10, I think, would be asking for too much. It would be nice, just this card, as far as I'm aware of, just it's definitely not worth the same, you know, 9 to 10. It is really, really hard to get any version, American, you know, or Japanese, Giovanni's Persian to be a 10. That's super hard to do. So up next is a electric. Oh, wait, by the way, so from this point on, we're probably not going to talk anymore about the possibility of a lawsuit, because we're focusing on getting these guesses pushed forward, which hopefully y'all are still playing Guess the Grade. We might do some more giveaways. Hold on, let me just check this debris, if it is debris. Oh yeah, that's debris. That came off. It was something that was right here. It's gone. Oh, it's still kind of there. Don't want to scratch up the hollow foil. I could probably use a tool, but if I can't get it off with my fingernail, I'm trying to get too restorative into it. Maybe, like if I was dealing with like a Illustrator Pikachu card or a Shadowless First Edition Charizard, I'd probably get more scientific. But this is where I probably stop talking about the lawsuit. I focus on guessing the grades of these cards and I move on. And we'll get into my portion again though, in part 3 of this video. I'm not trying to squeeze this out. Just if you go back through all my videos, I'm no good at editing. I'm no good at like figuring out the videoing system. Centering's not perfect, not great. It's not bad. It's decent. I will note, I do like this holographic pattern. I think this is the only set that has this holographic pattern. And I think that's why I like it. I don't see it a lot. So it's a pretty cool holographic pattern. So far, honestly, from the front, 10, maybe 9. More so still on the 10 side. And the back stripes again. That's pretty solid whitening. If it's just this corner, 8, no longer 9. It's not only that corner, so we're sitting in the 7s. 7. I would just literally singular guess 7 for this card. Again, from people who asked, for these, just I've got enough data set, I might go ahead and look up what that card gets as a 7 versus it just raw and move on. Up next is a Heracross Neogenesis. Japanese. Oh, yeah, I did put Japanese. as far as I'm aware, this should be an extremely clean card. Just kind of a crimp up. Centering, pretty good. Slight crimp up. Hollow factor, fantastic. Some small horizontal. Swirl stacked on swirl. It's not one swirl. It's like 3 to 4 stacked on top of each other. Jeez. Okay. One of the things I loved about this card, by the way, I've said it in a lot of videos. Pretty much. Oh, is that debris? What am I looking at with that? Hold on. Should be debris. Is it a card dent? Oh, again, the back isn't perfect. We're definitely not tinting on this card. You'll see in a second. Let me... Yep, that wasn't debris, that was a dent, and I've scratched off some of the front border. So, ooh, I've made that way worse. So just one of those things, you know, give up at some point. It wouldn't have tinted anyways. Here's the back. You got whitening, significant whitening. It's one of those things where you just gotta learn to be patient. But again, why this card is so dope is it just is not right in front of your face. And people who are so used to modern, oh, there's a lot of bleed actually. There's not supposed to be any holographic on Pencer's horns as far as I'm aware of. But that's exactly what I'm getting at. This card is one of the first cards that has like, there's a few, but this is one of the first that has 2 Pokemon in the same frame. If you look at a lot of base set, nearly all of base set, besides trainers, all of base set is like 1 Pokemon. It's not until you get into this era in Southern Islands that they start incorporating like these, like, oh, by the way, like there's another Pokemon, there's like something happening in this scene, which is what, for me, makes this card so much cooler. Most people who are, you know, getting into modern, they don't understand how important this is. Oh, well, you got swirl here and you've got swirls here. You got like 4 here and you've got like 2 here. Then you got the big Pokeball of space up here. So even though this card has whitening on the front, centering's not perfect, some nips up top. The grade, I would guess, would... Oof, I want to say flat 7, but honestly, possibly even 6 to 7. But with all the things that it has going on for it, it demands a premium as itself. And I'll probably end up again selling it raw. Now, there's been a massive explosion for vintage graded and also Japanese graded. Oh, I put this one in upside down on purpose. I was trying something new. So we'll go completely raw on this one. This is the English version. Again, still hollow bleed. In fact, there's a lot of swirl in what would be Pencer's horns. No swirl anywhere else. So far, the front is glass. The centering is pristine. Oh boy, is this going to be a 10? Nope, there is some whitening. It's not end of the world whitening. So this is where I would sit between an 8 to 9. I think a 10 would be too ambitious. Some of you are probably thinking a 9 is too ambitious, but I could see it 9ing. I don't know if it's 100% it's going to 9. That's why I include the 8. But if it got less than an 8, then I would raise questions. This card, without looking it up, as an 8 even should still be profitable compared to keeping it raw. But I'll have to do some research. Now, we've had this Blaziken before, but the ones we had before was the Air the line error. This one doesn't have the line error. Again, Cosmos, which is kind of strange that we have the Cosmos pattern this far into the series, a 2004 card. Centering's pretty good. Pretty close to mirror front finish. That is some debris. That came off instantly. I bet you there's some whitening on the back. There indeed is. That's minor in quantity. It is all four corners, but it's minor. So I'm just going to say an 8, which might seem high. It should, you know, you're probably thinking I should guess 7 to 8, but it's such minor whitening, and since that seems to be the only apparent thing on the card, I think an 8 is probably fair. Ooh, didn't mean to toss that. This is the right one. I just have to guess. We've had so many swap outs already. Yep. Now we're on Team Aqua's Wall Rain. If I remember correctly, this card's definitely not in perfect shape, but it is still a neat card, neat concept where they add the teams factor in. It's almost like they're trying to make a dark water type energy. Centering's pretty good. Top and bottom slightly off. Left to right's pretty good. Got some uplift, but it's very minor. A minor. Mustard. Oof, that's pretty steep. That right there. Zoom in, focus. Focus again. Get on the card. Oh my goodness. I want to show my viewers. Yeah. Minor on the corner. Fairly thick on the bottom. Probably 7. I don't think it would 8, and I don't think it would necessarily 6. I think it would 7. That was strange. I don't know if I annotated it. It is Cosmos pattern. I think it's supposed to have. Oh, and I annotated it. And I said what, 7? I think 7's fair. Oh, this is at least a reverse hollow foil. So reverse hollow foil Moltres from, did I put the set? I didn't, I was lazy. I don't have it memorized. Centering left to right's fine. Top to bottom's fine. If I had to guess, this will probably 10, which is why I incorporate, no? 9? 9? We're at 7 zoom now. Yeah, we're at least at 9. Nine. I don't think 10 is a good guess. I think 8 is too steep down. I think just based on that good look, we're looking at 9. Up next is the non-hollow version. I forget, y'all. My video just doesn't do it automatically. That crimp right up top. Just don't throw things off. Everything on the front is fine. Some sort of crimpish thing going on. Nine. It's a little ambitious. Again, it's probably not a card I will actually send in. I've got enough data set. I probably won't build that. And I'll have to pause from here.